we've escaped to the family cabin, a cabin high up in the mountains of Wyoming. We love to go on the river and go on hikes and eat delicious family meals around the table. I want you to feel like you've escaped with me, with my family up here in the mountains, and give you a little bit of summertime cooking inspiration and just enjoy this day with us. This cabin is surrounded by June berries, these tall trees full of dark blueberries. They look like blueberries, but they taste a lot different. They're a little bit more mealy, a little bit thicker. They almost taste medicinal. I've never actually cooked with them, but knowing that these berries are edible berries, I could not resist. I pulled my whole family out and we picked a bunch of berries, and we are serving them up for breakfast this morning. And I'm preparing them the way that I usually make berries for breakfast, and that is in a berry syrup. Today's kind of a special day. It's our daughter's birthday. So this morning she wanted crepes. We're going to have a nice family breakfast. We're cooking up some bacon. We're reserving the bacon grease and making my husband's famous country fried potatoes for breakfast. So I'm saving some of the bacon grease. The kids are blowing up balloons and they're so excited to have a little birthday party. And that means we're also going to be baking up a cake today. Every day that we're here, we usually go do a family activity. And since it's pretty warm, it doesn't get that hot. While they're having a heat wave back at home in Missouri, we are having 80 to 90 degree weather up here in the mountains, and it's definitely the place that you want to be. We're going to be going to the river and getting wet. So to fuel that hearty breakfast, we are having crepes with berry sauce and whipped cream. I will be putting this crepe recipe down in the description box below. It's pretty basic with eggs, flour, and milk. I like to put whatever is seasonal in my crepes. And so for summertime, that looks like a homemade berry sauce or whatever fruit is going on. Maybe some fresh peaches. In the fall, that looks like apples on the stove with cinnamon and nutmeg. We brought some of our homegrown potatoes from our garden. We grew some red potatoes. Jared usually microwaves those for a little bit until they become tender and chops them all up and cooks them in some bacon grease or in some butter and seasons them, and they're crunchy and delicious. For the berry sauce, I used about 2 cups of fresh berries, a half a cup of sugar because these berries are not very sweet, a squeeze of lemon juice. I like to add a little bit of vanilla and maybe a tablespoon of butter. I did add a sprinkle of cinnamon. I was surprised how thick these berries got. If you are familiar with June berries, let me know down in the comments below what you like to do with them. But I was surprised how it thickened up just like a jam. This berry must have some natural component to it that thickens it up. But I just kept adding a little bit of water just to make it more of a syrup. But it was perfect for these crepes. Serving them with some fresh whipped cream. And we had a few raspberries that are going on top. All of our family actually lives out west. We are the ones who moved out bought some land in Missouri. And so coming back and spending time with Jared's parents and his siblings in the cabin is really a special time for us. Any time with our family, extended family, is really special. So right now I'm whipping up a cake for my daughter's birthday. This is a treat for me and for her. I usually ask my kids what kind of cake they want for their birthdays. I let them choose. I don't always make it from scratch, but I definitely prefer it. There have been times when my kids have asked for a Darth Vader cake, and so I just went and ordered one from the grocery store. But I definitely prefer the flavor of a cake from scratch. So how do you guys do birthdays in your home? Do you have any birthday traditions? What do you do for your kids? So today Myra wanted a white birthday cake. So I have been using this birthday cake recipe from actually a kid's baking book that I bought for my oldest son who loves to cook in the kitchen. And it's a really basic vanilla cake recipe with butter and flour and sugar. You cube up the butter and mix that into the flour and sugar until they become just little butter crumbles. So the cake has a really good buttery flavor to it. And with 6 egg whites, it's pretty fluffy. And so it's turned out well in the past. This is pretty much the one vanilla cake recipe I know how to make from scratch. And I will make sure to put it down in the description box below. It has a great flavor, but it's not too sweet. In fact, this cake wasn't too sweet at all, just how I like it. I'm going to be making a buttercream frosting to go on top. And I like to layer it with whatever jam we have. And I bet you can guess what kind of jam that's going to be today. It's going to be our Juneberry syrup that is so thick, it's like a jam. And I always cut a parchment paper that is the size of the cake pan to put in the bottom. And when we are in the cabin, we just have to roll with what we have in the cabin. And so that was wax paper, which I don't recommend really for putting on your cakes. It sticks to your cake, but it's better than a cake sticking to the bottom of the cake pan. So the baby has been put down for a nap. We have lots of plans to do fun things today, and that means I'm just going for it in the kitchen. So we are preparing some steaks right now. My son came in, he's 12 years old, and he's asked if he could do the steaks for me. So we are just finding what spices are in the cabinet here. We are using a little bit of Japanese teriyaki sauce, some salt and pepper and garlic powder and onion powder. And I have an herb seasoning from Trader Joe's called 21 Seasonings that we like to use. And so he's over on the grill, grilling up some steaks and a couple pork chops. And I'm putting together a coleslaw. I mixed the cabbage inside of the food processor and it mixed it a little bit finer than I usually like. But it was nice and quick. And I'm just grating one Honeycrisp apple, nice and sweet, just to bring some sweetness to the salad. And then I'm putting together the sauce. It's about a cup of mayonnaise, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, 2 tablespoons of honey Dijon mustard, some salt and pepper. And then I usually do about a tablespoon of sugar just to sweeten that up a little bit. And that's roughly my coleslaw recipe. And I'm sprinkling it with a little bit of cilantro just for an added bit of flavor. Over here in the corner, my mother-in-law is putting together a little crock pot meal for tonight so that when we get back from our activities, we will have some dinner. So she's making some hamburger soup. She's browned some hamburgers. She's adding some celery and carrots and chopped potatoes and just an array of different herbs, a little bit of Italian seasoning and onion powder, garlic powder, a little bit of dill. And I believe she added a cream of mushroom soup to that with some water. When we meet with family at the family cabin, cooking is a shared effort. In fact, I didn't have to do much cooking at all when I was here, but we had lots of good food. My in-laws are so laid back and so very sweet. They are willing to share their kitchen with me always. And so it's just been a really laid back week while we're here, but I'm always happy to get my hands back into the kitchen. In fact, cooking is relaxing for me, and baking and coming up with sweet and delicious things is something that really puts my mind at ease. And putting together this cake felt like a beautiful creative outlet for me. I know for some people it might be more relaxing to just go and buy a cake from the store, but this is not just a tasty treat for me, but it's a treat for me in the sense that it eases my mind, it's relaxing, and it's a way to put my little artistic hand to work and come up with something that's not only tasty but beautiful as well. As a mom of little children, I keep reminding myself to relish in the simple moments. Right now, they don't need a whole lot, and they don't ask for a whole lot. In fact, the best gift that I could give them is my time and being with them, allowing them to put the candles on the cake and help with decorating. So on their special day, it's fun to hear the things that they say they want to do. Oftentimes it's just sitting down and playing with their new birthday toy, having a little bit of a tea party when it comes to my little girl. And I love the reminder to slow down and spend the time with them while I have them. After a full week of family fun and hiking and swimming and playing outside every day, I have found a quiet moment in the kitchen, which honestly is one of my favorite places to be. The baby is down for a nap, and I thought I would share one more recipe with you guys. In fact, it's probably one of my favorite recipes of all time. I am going to be making some Thai green curry with you guys tonight. Learning to cook Thai curry goes way back when we were living in Wyoming in the middle of nowhere, far, far away from any good Thai food or any good Asian food for that fact. And so I learned how to make a simple Thai curry for all of those times that I was craving my favorite foods and couldn't get to a restaurant. This recipe just uses 2 cups of coconut milk, about 2 tablespoons to 1/4 a cup of curry paste, some fish sauce, sugar, and lime juice. With this Thai brand of curry paste, you can just throw the whole jar in, but I'm just starting out with about 3/4 of the jar since green curry tends to be a bit spicier than the red curry or massaman red curries. And then I just add whatever vegetables are in the fridge. When I'm making a green curry, I do like to add a bit more green vegetables. It just makes some sense in my mind. And I start out by sauteing the curry paste in some oil in the pot. It just brings out all the flavors. You could even add a little bit of fresh garlic to this as well. And then I pour in 1 can of coconut milk. When you are cooking all of your vegetables and meat in the coconut milk, you only want to use half of the amount of coconut milk that you're using for the recipe. So for us today, that's 1 can of coconut milk. It changes the flavor of your coconut milk when you are cooking it. And so when you throw in the other can at the very end, it just adds all that coconut flavor back into the meal. You want to start out by cooking whatever vegetable takes the longest. I am putting in some red potatoes. I either slice them very thinly or I chop them up into very small pieces. I'm going to throw that into the coconut milk and curry and let that cook for probably about 5 minutes or until it's just barely tender. And then I will be adding the rest of the vegetables. I'm also going to chop some extra vegetables so that I can make a little stir fry. I know that some people in this family group don't love spicy things or even Thai curry for that matter. So we're just going to make a little pork and stir fry to serve alongside of our Thai curry. I learned how to make Thai food from a website. I don't even know if it's still on the internet. It's very old. It's called Thai Food Tonight. And it was a website with a grandmother and her granddaughter teaching her grandma's recipes. And that's where I picked up this recipe and this method. So I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. And I also added a little bit of water to this. It's going to cook down. And as those vegetables are cooking, if you feel like it needs a little bit more liquid, just add a little bit of water to your pot. Now that the potatoes are a bit tender, I am going to be adding in the rest of my vegetables, and that's mostly broccoli and cauliflower. I have a very simple stir fry coming together over here on the side with my vegetables. I like them to be a little bit crunchy, not too soft, and I've pulled them over to the side and I've sliced some pork up very thinly. I'm cooking that there on the side and then mixing it all together. When it comes to the Thai recipe, it's all downhill from here. We've added 2 tablespoons of fish sauce and 2 tablespoons of sugar, and that's cooking. And this is exactly how I learned to cook it from the Thai Food Tonight website. You add the meat into the boiling coconut milk. And when that meat is no longer pink and it's cooked through, then you turn off the heat. You add the rest of your coconut milk. I'm adding a handful of cilantro. If you have some basil, that is absolutely delicious too. And then I squeeze a couple tablespoons of lime juice. Now, the best trick here is to taste it at the end. If you need to add any sweetness, saltiness, which is going to be your fish sauce, or any sour, your lime juice, then that's when you add it. And just balance out those flavors. You really can't go wrong here. I follow the same technique and recipe for any of the curry pastes, depending on how spicy they are, depends on how much curry paste you add. And now everyone is coming in from their activities and it's time for dinner. You're going to want to stick around. Don't leave yet. I have a little treat, as promised, a little bit of music. Sid, the piano kid, is back. He's sitting at the piano with his grandma, who teaches virtual piano lessons. I can't wait to get back to our little old farmhouse. I will be seeing you guys next Monday in our normal setting. Thanks for joining me here today, and I sure love you guys. Bye.